So we'd like to introduce our next speakers. They are from our gold sponsor, the Australian Building Codes Board. They will be presenting on working together and education opportunities. So we have two wonderful speakers today, Professor Gabrielle Wallace, an adjunct professor at Western Sydney University, and she is the Group Manager, NCC Management and Standards, and also Claire Wright, who is Group Manager, NCC Education. So please welcome Professor Gabrielle Wallace and Claire Wright.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to address the conference. What impactful speakers we had yesterday and this morning. I must say, a very hard act to follow. In particular, I wanted to thank Professor Shergold for his wonderfully engaging and insightful presentation and entree to the NCC. If my presentation follows Commissioner Chandler's musings yesterday, I promise not to ask if you're awake. That really struck me after Peter's presentation, I must say. I'm in the Commissioner's camp, one of those adjunct professors who doesn't really have a defined role. But what I do today is bring an offer to support the uptake of the National Construction Code and encourage to build a coalition of supporters who understand and promote the NCC as a key tool in their work. For various reasons, the sound understanding of the NCC cannot easily be gained in the workforce. First, I'd like to talk a little about the Australian Building Code Board and what we do. The board is a joint initiative of the Commonwealth and Australian, state and territory governments, together with the building and plumbing industries. It has a mandate to improve economic productivity through the consolidation of on-site construction requirements into a single code, the NCC. Our focus is on developing and maintaining a minimum, proportionate and cost-effective technical requirements that provide for the health, safety, amenity and accessibility and sustainability of buildings. So it's encompassing of the built environment. Moreover, the board endeavours to make sure the NCC is an industry staple, working hard to consolidate and simplify technical requirements, providing pathways to facilitate innovation, improving industry understanding and ensuring national consistency. Harmonisation is critical to its effectiveness, as was highlighted in Davina Rooney's presentation yesterday and touched on today by Professor Shergold. What you may or may not know about us. What we're not is a regulator or enforcement agency. Although we produce a national code to facilitate the harmonisation of technical building requirements. The rationale for this was clearly highlighted yesterday again by Davina in her presentation on the importance of NAPERS. Similarly, building regulation harmonisation facilitates national consistency and provides certainty for industry uptake. In producing the NCC, we conduct as well as procure research, working collaboratively with regulatory agencies, industry bodies and universities within our geographical region and more widely abroad. The ABC office holds graduate and postgraduate level technical expertise, including quite a few PhDs, across various engineering disciplines, such as fire, facade and structural engineering, building surveying, construction management, architecture, law, as well as holding expertise in policy development, education, economic analysis, communications and publication. We oversee the building and plumbing product certification scheme, Watermark and Codemark, to provide confidence in the products used by industry. We're a standards writing body that develops and publishes not only the NCC, but our own standards, such as the Livable Housing Standard in the NCC 2022, which was published on the 1st of October this year. And we guide the development of Australian and international standards for reference or adoption in the NCC. We don't develop the NCC in isolation. We have an engaged, interdisciplinary and collaborative approach to our work, which is Directed by agreement of national building ministers, whether they understand they're building ministers or not, to reflect Heater's comments. So our work program responds to intergovernmental commitments on the built environment that affect the health, safety and amenity of the community as a whole. For example, energy efficiency to address government's commitments to climate change is a significant part of our work agenda at the moment. Our work is governed by international agreement by a board of representatives from every Australian state and territory government, as well as peak industry bodies. It's informed by international research and regulatory development. For example, we collaborate with the Interjurisdictional Regulatory Collaboration Committee and work closely with Standards Australia on the adoption of international standards. So our work captures and contributes to international development of technical building standards. Our work is informed by technical committees and reference groups, again, with interdisciplinary expertise from the cross-government and key industry bodies. Our work is adaptive to emerging technologies, such as facilitating the uptake of electric charging facilities in buildings. In sum, we produce through the NCC a national regulatory instrument that provides for the minimum requirements to ensure the safe and effective construction of the built environment. Through pathways that provide for both certainty through deemed to satisfy requirements and flexibility through performance requirements to facilitate innovation. It's particularly the latter that's relevant to the higher education sector. So what does this look like for NCC 2022? NCC 2022 is the most significant amendment since the inception of the National Construction Code, then in 1998, known as the Building Code of Australia. Most importantly, its structure has changed, and you can find out much more about the changes on our website. I'll leave this to you to review because there's lots to talk about. As you can see, the major changes are highlighted here. So what's in store for the next amendment? You may be aware or not that we're on a 3-year amendment cycle. The next amendment is due in 2025. So our current work program includes the development of responses to both problematic building issues, emerging technologies, as well as leading international research that will inform NCC 2025. So how does this relate to universities? There's general agreement that it's in all our interest that our buildings meet, at the very least, minimum technical standards that the community expects. The board sets those standards nationally, and these are adopted by state and territory regulatory systems and complemented by their compliance and enforcement regimes. That was particularly highlighted by Commissioner Chandler's presentation yesterday. What is important to our future built environment is that our university graduates have sufficiently sound understanding to correctly apply the NCC to the design, the construction, and the maintenance of our buildings. Also particularly important is how the integration of that understanding occurs across the disciplines involved in the built environment. We carried out a gap analysis regarding the NCC and found 2 matters of relevance to universities. First, the gap analysis revealed many opportunities to better cater to this, to the educator, student and practitioner audiences. And the board has in recent years focused on producing NCC education. However, a gap in the student cohort still exists. Second, there's an opportunity for more nationally consistent materials to be developed for the student audience at the university level. With this in mind, we want to build a coalition of supporters who understand and promote the NCC. As stated earlier, we do this in several ways. One of these ways is that we offer 2 cadetships each year, and we encourage our assistants to promote this opportunity to students. Cadetships provide a unique insight into building regulation and development, Cadets get to work alongside industry and governments and highly respected professionals who develop world-class building and plumbing codes. We seek applicants who are passionate about the building environment, strong team members, good communicators, and who like to show initiative when researching and exploring creative solutions. Again, I encourage you to let your students know about the cadetships and to visit our website. So thank you for your attention, and I'm glad nobody went to sleep. And I'll hand you over to my colleague Claire Wright, who will speak to an exciting opportunity.
Hello, thank you for staying. I know we've had lots of exciting speakers, and I think I do have an exciting opportunity to present to you all here today. I've been talking to a few of you through the events and corridors as we've been here. So here's the grand announcement. We're using AUBEA to announce something that we want to work with universities on. So before I tell you about it, keep the suspense going, just wanted to also mention why we want to work together. So we've heard throughout the conference about how important the construction industry is and education within that construction industry. The federal government has done a recent report also highlighting skill needs, and so construction professionals with good skills are actually in demand in Australia. We need construction managers. They're leading the list of skill shortages, and they're at the top of the list of the top 10 professionals that are in demand over the next 5 years. So undergraduate education is part of the pathway to get to these construction professionals so that we can help them understand the National Construction Code and help them get better building outcomes on the ground, which I'm sure we're all conscious to want to be able to achieve. So education benefits the community, it also benefits us, and it also benefits educators and students themselves. A good understanding of the NCC, as we're hearing through the work that Professor Shergold has done with Wong and Weir, is that there isn't a good understanding necessarily coming out of graduates when they finish the vet training or also university training on that practical application of how to use the National Construction Code. And it's also about the cross-discipline approaches as well, because there are many different trades and professionals that work within the construction of the building, and that communication across all those disciplines is very important. So if we can work to better improve the education and some of those skills which Professor Shergold was mentioning about, those soft skills, which again we agree quite hard skills. It's that complex problem solving and communication, but also that technical understanding, so we're all talking about the same thing as we go forward. So an awareness of the NCC, which is what most graduates are likely to be getting, improves understanding, but then the next step needs to be that application so that we can get those compliant outcomes in buildings in Australia. So the opportunity, it's here. All the hype. So what we're looking to do is work with an Australian university, and what we want to do is to provide some funding to develop undergraduate education on the NCC. So something to give lecturers or the universities a bit of creativity in how we might go about that, but also meet some minimum requirements about how we are training on the NCC or educating. So the detail of the requirement is that the successful supplier will be required to create a comprehensive teaching tool or tools or materials. So it's open to what this might be. So it could be a lecture series, it could be an assessments piece, could be other items. You guys are the expert in this space, so we'll leave that part to you to tell us how we can do that part. As part of it, we also would like a strategy or an implementation plan showing that once we've created this, how are we going to roll this out? What's it going to look like for students? And then what results are we looking to achieve from that? And then later in the piece, after it's actually been enacted, we'd like to understand any feedback about what that is. So, part of any good project, we want to see develop something, get a strategy, put it into place, and then see what the outcomes are. So we've got $40,000 that we can put towards a contract. So being the government agency, we're setting it up approach to market. So it'll be done in that manner. We want the work to start in early 2023. So we're looking to close applications. I think it's the 23rd of January is what we're tying up as the date. And then the work, because of the time it will take to implement, will then continue into 2024. We think collaborating with course accreditation bodies would be a great thing to do, because again, as the previous speaker stole half of our speaking parts there, but yeah, that the accreditation bodies are where industry seems to come into the picture as well. So that would be encouraged. And if it does work out to be more feasible, you could put into a combined submission into the process. So to summarise what we'll provide the funds, the obvious one. Gabrielle mentioned we do have resources on our website. We do have over 300 resources that sit in our resource library, which we can help provide if that helps on the content side. And we can also provide you access to the staff that Gabrielle mentioned as well. So she mentioned we have PhDs, we have graduates, so we have all sorts of different professions available that work in the office. So an example of what the content might be focused on. We're focusing on the fundamentals of NCC, parts that we think that are key to the graduates being able to understand and interpret the NCC. So as a suggestion, we could look at topic-based aspects, and you could follow a topic-based through and scenarios, and look at the NCC performance requirements, which are top of the hierarchy. And then you could look at how to use the deemed to satisfy pathway, how to use a performance solution, and then how to document the process, which is also very important, keeping that integrity of what the design is and implementation. Or look at how to do the combined approach. And you could take the same topic and you could apply all those three aspects as to how you would get an outcome, so that you can clearly demonstrate and understand how to use the different pathways within the code. But that's just an example of what we think might be a useful way to do topic. We're open to other ideas that you might have as well. So who should apply? So we're looking at Australian universities, as I mentioned. Anyone that's currently teaching curriculum that's relevant to the built environment. So we're talking construction management, building design, architecture, engineers, building surveying. The more the merrier. If you can get everybody together to see how it goes from design all the way through to construction, that would be great. Universities with the NCC in the undergraduate programs, which I'm sure all the universities do have, but at what level it might vary depending on the cohort, of course, and what's being taught at the time. So if you want to improve it, or you've got no idea of how you would like to expand it, they're the sorts of things we'd be interested in seeing. And ideally, if you are in a university and you have multiple faculties, pulling that all together to give that broader reach, because I think the broader we can get that understanding of the NCC, the better it is for the end users at the end of the day. So if you're interested, and I hope you are, I'm your point of contact, so I'm Claire Wright. I am also on LinkedIn, so if it's easier to find me on LinkedIn, if you don't have written down my email address readily or taken a photograph. If you send me an email by next Thursday, I'll send you through the approach to market documentation and the details. I can also send you through the notes of these slides so that you've got that for context as well. And then we'd ask that the submission is done within those forms, and it's due on the 23rd of January. We'd like to kick the contract off in February, and then delivery of the contract, as I mentioned, from late 2023 through to early 24. If the timelines don't work because of other restrictions, then we're also open to have conversations about that as well. So yeah, that was it in a nutshell for me. Running away, sorry. We have one more. Just wait for the microphone so that we get the people online.
Yeah, just wanted to check with you what type of delivery you are expecting. Is it going to be, you want it as a subject in a degree program, or you want to follow a micro-credential type of approach?
Yeah, if it's the key is to reach the undergraduate audience. So however you think the best way would be to do that would be what we would be open to. So if you think providing a micro-credential gives you that benefit and potentially other benefits, then pitch that as part of the submission. Yeah, so we're open to both.
But it's that widespread that we want across disciplines, not focused on one discipline, because the key is to promote the understanding of the NCC. So the disciplines, when they get on site, there's practical application and understanding of how it works and how each other's work impacts on the other.
Thank you. I'm from University of South Australia. We teach NCC in the program, and also we have a big in surveying specialization. So we are trying to review our curriculum next year. So will this funding available for that kind of review rather than introducing a new course? Already we have the course for building regulations and few courses we teach NCC and review. So if we are planning to review one, will we kind of review the program? Will that be available?
If you're looking to, again, if you're looking to improve it and potentially expand the content that you're sending in, delivering it with help, with content to help clarify that, working with us to do that, we'll be able to do that. But again, as Gabrielle says, the broader, the better. So there's elements of that might reach out to other disciplines that beneficial.
And also, can I also ask another question regarding implementation, especially the inspections and certification part of your, where Dr. Shergo just talked about. So the problem is, I think the private certification is not working, and also councils, they don't have resources to inspect every element of the building. They do only 1 or 2 inspections. So what would be the solution for this? Because we have a lot of issues. My question is whether we would like to go back to the clerk of works where we employ clients representative for the site for the entire project. Will that model work? And if yes, why we are not using it now? We have that, and it's being like a lot of countries still have, but in Australia I see it's not being used very often, mostly because of the cost implication. So what is your opinion regarding how to implement NCC and the compliance part of it? That's the biggest issue at the moment. Okay, thank you.
So thank you for your question. And it's one that's long been discussed. And I think we can give some degree of dissatisfaction with the way things work at the moment. But there are some, in many ways it is effective. But it's a question that's really directed to governments, because governments make those decisions. So we have the system that we have at the moment. So, there's an opportunity to work with what we've got. And that opportunity, it's not a lost cause at all. One of the things in that, we've looked at the compliance end. So we've had some discussions yesterday and David that we brought that to the fore. So we've got compliance and enforcement. But you need a strong compliance and enforcement regime for those people who aren't operating effectively. And that's the classic pair to rule. So we have the 80-20 rule. And there'll always be that. But there's also an opportunity to strengthen understanding up front, to drive the process up front. Mostly people want to do the right thing. And mostly you arm them with the tools to really understand their professions and their trades and their work. And how to work together more effectively. Because one of the problems is that, it's a Cheshire cat situation where one profession points to the other. So, they'll drop tools on one point and say that's their responsibility. So, the interdisciplinary focus is really, really important. So I think we've got marvellous opportunities at the university and the TAFE and the education sector to strengthen the understanding of what the NCC does. It's our primary document. This is a non-discretionary document, and it does offer pathways to really facilitate innovation. And therein lies that problem, because when you've got very limited structures, the compliance pathways, you need very generally highly educated people who can understand and interpret and apply the NCC to make the outcome robust. So, I think it's in this space that we're not doing as best as we can do. And so I've practiced in the area, I've been a regulator, now I'm in this space. So, I've built myself, I've subdivided, I've built, so I have that holistic perspective. So I'd say in looking at all of this and in my role here at university, there are enormous opportunities. So, take those and you can, this is just one, but you can lead those and you can drive those. But essentially, if we arm the people with the tool, we will get better outcomes through that process. There'll be cost efficiency there'll be less defects. You'll get things up faster. You won't have the problems. Companies, will be satisfied with their product because in the end they won't have those, defective products and cost implications at the end, and the consumer will be satisfied. So, I think take that lens and take those opportunities. You're the perfect people to do it. So that would be my advice from this perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Wallace and Claire, for your presentation and the important work that you do in enhancing the quality of the Australian construction industry.